Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is round 7 of Llobregat Open chess tournament. Round 7 was something else, everyone. So much happened. I don't even know where to begin. Let's just get right into the game. So I face Zuo Ren Lim from Malaysia. He's rated 2306 and he is a FIDE master. And when I was looking at my opponent's games, when I was preparing, I noticed that my opponent is very strong, and I feel like this rating right here, he should have a higher rating than this, because it was really difficult to see how he's losing his games or what are his weaknesses. He is scoring well in so many different ways, and I just really liked his games, and I thought, where can I find his weaknesses? It was really difficult to prepare against him, and yeah. That's why I thought, okay, this was actually a tough matchup. And also, my opponent's actually doing really well in the tournament. So I thought, okay, it's a tough pairing, but I'm going to do my best. And yeah, when preparing, I saw that my opponent plays things like the Najdorf and also Sveshnikov. And I thought, okay, let's try to prepare against that. And my coach came with an amazing line. Let me introduce you to e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6. This is the Najdorf. f4. So this is a move I've never played a Najdorf. In this moment, like here, I have played almost every move under the sun, and so has my opponent faced every move under the sun in this position. But neither of us, at least not in the database, have faced or played f4. So, yeah, I was super excited that there's actually something I've not tried in this opening, and it's a really nice surprise effect. So f4 is what I played, e5, and now knight f5. And this is like completely insane, but it works. Well, it's not a really good line. It's not, one of the main lines for a reason, but it can work out really well, which may have happened in this game. Bishop takes f5 is what my opponent played. I have to be honest with you, I don't know for sure if this is the right move. I know that the right move is knight c6, but I know that bishop takes f5 is one of the options, obviously, to consider, because, knight cannot just jump to f5, right? E takes f5, queen c7, and here g4. I was so excited. I thought, oh my goodness, this is like a dream coming true. I can push pawns, and I don't have to castle yet. But this is, if you know my games well, you know that I like pushing pawns, and my king is always stuck in the center. Sometimes it's good, most of the times it's not good, and this time it's actually good, because how can black actually attack me? Black is in a tough position because the pieces are not developed, and at the same time the position is so open. So what is going on? So h6 is played. And here I was thinking of playing g5, but I thought maybe that's a bit too much, because where's my development? I don't want to allow queen c6, and then my rook is hanging, so rook g1, and then maybe queen c5. I don't know. It feels like that poking is a little bit annoying, and my pawn on h2 may also be hanging at some point. So yeah, I didn't really want to push for more, but it was very tempting. But I thought, let's just try to remain calm and be a bit more mature than just pushing pawns all the way. So I went bishop g2. E takes f4, queen e2 check. Also, usually the bishop goes to c4, but now I can't really go there. So I figured, might as well play bishop g2 then and go on this long diagonal instead. So e takes f4, queen e2 check. So I'm giving this check first, because if queen e7, then I take on b7, and I'm winning the pawn, and then I'm taking this one back at some point, and black is just in a terrible position. If bishop e7, which is what happened in the game, then this bishop is, getting a little bit stuck. So bishop takes f4, so I played. Now if you play short castle, do you really want to castle into these pawns over here? And also, it's just a really tough position for black whatsoever, because, yeah, I just go long castle, and I'm just chilling, because this pawn on d6 is a target. I'm going to play rook e1 perhaps, and h4, g5 is incoming, knight d5 will be played at some point. I just have like so much to play for, and my opponent is just stuck. So knight c6, long castle, and here knight e5. So my opponent is trying to shut the e-file down, which is very typical in the knight era, so makes sense to put the knight there, rook he1, but I figured maybe I can try to win that pawn somehow. Long castle was played, h4, because I want to play g5, so I can put my knight on d5. And obviously, knight takes g4, I'm not really afraid of this because, yeah, I just have knight d5, and yeah, bishop h3. I mean, black is in a really awkward spot here, and yeah, there's so much that I can do here. Actually, knight d5 is immediately losing material because where does the queen even go? Queen e7, knight b6 check, and if the queen was elsewhere you just take on e7. So yeah, you cannot take the pawn on g4 for this reason. So king b8 was played to try to hide that king, as after this you can play queen d7 safely. G5, a takes g5, h takes g5. Amazing to get this on the board. I mean, this is like a dream position for white. These bishops are amazing, doing their job. The knight is jumping to d5. I mean, that's a dream square for the knight. And black doesn't have anything. Knight h5, bishop e3, queen c4. Afterwards, I analyzed with my opponent, and he told me that queen takes c4 is actually, you know, this endgame should be really good because, yeah, I just have so much to play for here after bishop a7 check. I missed this move actually because after king takes a7, rook takes e7, and my rook is on the 7th rank. It's like a dream, right? And you have to play rook b8 because if you lose b7, you lose the game. So the rook will be stuck on b8, and I'm just gobbling up those pawns here. d6 will be hanging soon because I play b3, and yeah, it's a really rough position. But, you know, when I have these pieces on the board, I obviously don't want to trade pieces because I'm in such a winning position. I want to win material, not trade. But maybe this was a simple way to try to win the game because you simplify and... But I thought if you trade pieces, then maybe the drawing chances are getting higher for the opponent. I don't know. I just went for queen e2. I just wanted to go for this and continue the attack. Rook c8 and bishop d5. So I wanted to play knight d5 really badly, but I couldn't quite justify it, and I thought bishop d5, let's kick the queen away from here. Queen g4, I was not afraid of this because rook g1, queen takes f5 was not played, but I thought if that pawn is captured, then I can play queen d4, and yeah, black is in a really terrible position because I am infiltrating with my queen towards a7. So queen b4, my opponent's trying to hold on to the position. I play a3, queen a5, queen d4, queen c5, and here I went queen e4, so the queen has to move again, queen c7, rook d4. I'm just bringing up more pieces towards the king with rook b4 incoming, and b7 is, yeah, a big weakness, and I'm just targeting that pawn with all my pieces almost. Knight c6 is what my opponent played. Really tricky move actually, because I want to take that knight off the board. I want to get rid of it. Because after b takes c6, rook b4 check, and if king a8, well, that's the only move basically. I have so many ways that I can win. Queen c4 is, I guess, the most clean one, because how do you defend the pawn on a6? Queen a5, I always have moves such as rook a4, and this is completely winning. Rook takes a6, or queen takes a6, and this is over. So that's why I want to take on c6, and you may think, oh, queen takes c6, queen takes e7, you win a piece. All good. Well, there's rook h e8. Then you're like, okay, fine, you're taking this, I'm taking that, life's good, Rook takes c3, b takes c3, queen takes c3. How do you defend the rook and the pawn on c2, which is, by the way, a checkmate? How do you defend this? So one move that comes to mind is rook d2. Yeah, that's checkmate. Another move that I saw that I thought, okay, queen d1 at least. Queen a1 check. The king is forced to move here, and then queen takes d4, and I'm losing the rook anyway. And, I mean, I guess I can repeat moves, but I may lose this, actually. If my opponent continues, I think my opponent can try to win this game. So, this is why I cannot take on c6. This whole line doesn't work. And if I have the pair of bishops, and this bishop is such a strong attacking piece, why would I take that knight, and why would I lose the pair of bishops this way? So there's no need for it. So I've just played rook c4. queen d7, my opponent gets out of the pin, bishop takes f7. I thought, okay, I'm just taking this pawn because I don't mind bishop takes g5, bishop e6, bishop takes, queen takes, because I'm going to win materially regardless. There's queen e8 though, so I'm not able to take that rook off the board because my queen is hanging, so that is a nice pin, but I have queen b6, and now the rook has to move, right? Well, there's first queen d8. If the rook moves, let's say rook c7, I have knight d5, and the rook is trapped. If rook d8, I mean, this is stuck in so many different ways, right? But yeah, this is just completely lost. There's bishop d5, knight d5. I mean, yeah, this is terrible for black. So that's why my opponent for queen e8. The queen retreats to f2, and now rook c7. So my opponent gave up on trying to hold on material, because after knight d5, he played knight f6. I was thinking of b5, but I guess it doesn't really help because the rook can just move, and if the rook moves, then the knight on c6 will drop, and yeah, I'm just winning material once again. So that's why my opponent gave up the exchange deliberately. Knight f6, knight takes c7, queen takes c7, queen g2. So at this time, I was trying to play fast this game, but at some point I did get into some time scramble. This is around the time that I was starting to get low on time. So I had like a couple of minutes, I think. So I played queen g2, attacking the pawn g7, and I want to try to stop any sort of d5, and maybe I played bishop d5 to then take on c6. So many options here. Rook h7, the rook is just dead on h7, but it's protecting g7. King b1, I thought, you know, the king has to move, and I'm passing the turn back to my opponent because what can my opponent actually play? It's almost a zugzwang, right? Queen a5, rook d1. The pawn on d6 is hanging, so king c7, queen g6. I'm just infiltrating. I want to play queen f7, and I want to take that pawn on d6. Queen e5, queen f7 check, king b6. And here I started to crumble. So I'm in this completely winning position. Like, life's good, everything is great, but we're now almost 39, and I'm running low on time, and I was focused this game so much that I started to lose energy, and I didn't really sense this during the game as much, but in hindsight, I noticed now that I started to lose the thread because everything was starting to get blurry. Like, after all these things that I went through this game, after focusing so much and trying to find the best moves and all of that, I slowly started to lose track of the position. So here I remember calculating something along the lines of, okay, I'm attacking that pawn on d6 with queen f8, and maybe I can take on c6 somehow, and then if I take, then b takes c6, and then I have some queen b8 ideas, and that's checkmate. And if king takes c6, I was thinking of some ideas here where my attack is fantastic, but then I played bishop c8, and I thought, oh my goodness, I allowed g5, and now the rook is back to life. My opponent has a passed pawn. This pawn of mine is not going anywhere. And I thought, oh, goodness me, how am I going to win this now? Like, I'm winning, but it's so hard suddenly. Queen f8, I have to move the queen. Queen e2, rook d3. Fortunately, I'm not losing material here. Knight e4, threatening knight d2. So my king is running to a2, knight c5. And here, something crazy happened. So for whatever reason, I don't know what happened, but I was calculating rook takes c5, obviously, because I want to take these pieces. But I started to get low on time once again, because we only got 15 minutes after move 40s, and that 15 minutes is nothing. You recover for a few minutes from, you know, the stress that you endured for the past couple of moves, and then suddenly you're back in time trouble again. But for some reason, I neglected rook takes c5. So obviously after d takes c5, rook b3 check, the king has to move somewhere. a7 is most likely the safest square, because king c7 is this checkmate. If king a5, queen takes c5, and this is also losing. And king a7, there's queen takes c5 check, and if king b8, you take on c6. Well, I guess there's rook c5, but you just take on b7, right? Yeah, you just take there. And yeah, you're just winning material this way. If king a8, you have this move bishop takes b7. Rook takes b7, queen takes c6. Yes, black can defend with queen e7, but there's f6, and you just push the pawn and you go on until you can take on b7, right? Or you just take on b7 right away. That also works. But yeah, for some reason, I don't remember what I was seeing. Maybe did I not like king takes c5 perhaps, but then queen takes d6, king b6. I don't really remember very well what I missed, but or maybe what could have happened is that, so when you're calculating moves, sometimes the pieces move in your brain. Like you're visualizing things, you're visualizing the line, and let's say I was thinking of queen g8, but then now that I think of rook takes c5, in my head the queen is still on g8. So what I'm thinking is what happened is that maybe I thought the queen or like some piece was somewhere else, which was the reason why I didn't play it, or I was not able to calculate properly that, this is actually winning in this way. But yeah, I played rook dc3. Yeah, I thought, let's try to attack one more time. Queen e5, and once again here, rook takes c5, pawn takes, rook b3 check is completely winning. Why did I play this? I don't know. I don't know. Everything just started to become so blurry for me, and I was checking a lot of different moves because my opponent has so many moves available, and for some reason I was getting surprised. Well, I was expecting these moves, but I do remember that knight c5 was not good in my head. I remember that it's not a good move, but once my opponent played it, I couldn't remember what I was thinking about, and everything just started to like fade away. And I couldn't sense in the moment, obviously, what was going on, but now I know that I was actually getting tired and I was getting exhausted from being so locked in the entire game that now in the end phase where I am supposed to convert, I don't have the resources left in my body to convert this, and it's so frustrating. So rook dc3, queen e5, and now I went for f6. So here I kind of panicked because what do I do? I don't know what to move, and I'm seeing queen d5 isn't coming here. And for some reason I neglect the rook takes c5 because it's on my mind, but there is some line that I didn't like and I just moved on at some point, and that's why I played f6. I thought at least push the pawn, Queen to d5, really annoying move because I cannot play f7, and rook f7 is also annoying to deal with. b3, because my rook is also pinned now, so I have to help it somehow. Rook h1, and here I thought, oh my goodness. Queen d1, queen a1 is checkmate. And I thought, you have to be kidding me. If I lose this game, I don't want to play chess ever again. Because in such a winning position, if I find the only way to lose, I don't know what's more embarrassing. So, like, I'd rather be scholars mated than this. Like, this is... Anyway, rook h1, and I play bishop g4 because I have to stop queen d1. Turns out it's the only move, so I fortunately found it. But I remember that I had like 30 seconds, so I was like freaking out, like, what's going on? Rook f1 is what my opponent played because, attacking the pawn, and I guess just, preparing queen h1 as well. I played bishop h3, rook h1, and guess what happened? I played bishop g4, rook f1, bishop h3, rook h1, bishop g4, and my opponent offers a draw, and I'm like, yes, please. I'm pretty sure my opponent offered a draw after his move. Like, I don't know. But yeah, basically, we agreed to a draw. Because I had 30 seconds, my brain was stopped working, and I could not see anything anymore. And I was just relieved that I did, one, not lose on the clock, and not lose in the position. So I was really relieved that the game was over and I didn't lose, because that would have been so embarrassing in so many different ways. It's embarrassing enough that I couldn't convert this position that was like completely winning. But obviously during the game, when I had 30 seconds, I did see moves such as rook h1, there's bishop g2. But so in the analysis after the game with my opponent, we were trying to figure out how to win this with white, because obviously there should be something here. But we could only find losing lines for white. Well, obviously there are some winning line here. But after queen takes g2, rook takes c5, pawn takes, queen takes c5, you have to be very sure that you're winning this, because obviously queen f1 is the next move, and then there's checkmate on b1 or a1. So you have to make sure that you're winning this, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult. So yeah, I'm I'm trying to figure out right now what the winning idea is, but I'm still failing. Yeah, I didn't check this properly with the computer just yet, but yeah, this game is completely insane. And at some like we were checking all these lines. There's also rook takes c5 at some point. Oh, sorry about that. I mean, let me remove that. There's also, instead of, so bishop g4 rook f1, you also have some, or maybe this here. You also have some rook takes c5 ideas to then push f7, but I couldn't. I see this queen d1 idea and I just cannot comprehend that I can win this. Because even b4 will be met by queen b1 checkmate, right? So my king can run. So I somehow have to figure out a way to either take the rook or the queen and yeah, somehow win this. But yeah, it's completely insane what happened here, and what could have happened as well. That would have been really crazy. But anyway, after bishop g4 or whatever move was the last move, we agreed to a draw, and I was just happy that the game was over. But obviously, I should 100% win this game. And when I see the position with rook takes c5, I'm like, that's a puzzle rush tactic. Like you would take this piece any day. But in that moment, I couldn't. I couldn't get myself to do it. And yeah, I fought so hard this game to win, and it really took up all my energy. So I feel like my opponent deserves a draw for being so resilient and defending so well. And yeah, I also felt, part of me feels a bit bad when you out-prepare your opponent like this, and ever since the opening, I'm basically winning, right? So it felt bad in a way that I outplayed my opponent, mostly because of the opening, because had it been any other opening, my opponent would have given me a really hard time. I'm very certain of that. So I feel like the draw in a way is deserved, and it still feels nice to draw against a higher rated player, right? And I feel like he is supposed to be higher rated than 2300. I feel like he really deserves it. And yeah, he was a really fantastic opponent. I felt really bad for making him suffer so much, but yeah, I guess a draw is in a way a fair result. So yeah, it's okay. It obviously it's really awful to not win this, but what to do? What to do? All you can do is do better next time. And yeah, it was fun to try out a new line. I really enjoyed this. It was really exciting. Anyway, that was this game, round 7 in the books, and I'm going to do my best in the last few rounds. And yeah, I'm excited for the last few rounds. I'm excited. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this recap, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!